If you look at that, what do you see? Mm-hmm. And you see a person. And the thing about fingerprints, guess what? Each one is unique. We heard from one of our previous speakers that we, the people, as a person, we're more than just this what? Body. Mental health involves more than what? The mind. Actually, if we were to look at other things, other definitions, mental health really impacts your feelings, your emotions, your behaviors. There's so many different things. How did you get here today? How did you get in this field? Did you choose it? Or did it choose you? Somebody said that. You did. Well, I'm going to tell you what happened to me a long time ago when I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up. My first university is San Antonio, private. I had the option of picking everything that I wanted to pick. But guess what? Somehow I would have abnormal psychology and other things on the side. So I finally settled on being an educator. Elementary. Why was that? Because I'm the type of person I like every day to be different. Stayed in the classroom for a little while. Anyone taught besides me? Oh, you just didn't have your certification. But you were a therapist then, I'm sure. So then I was called out to corporate America. Wow. Got a job I didn't even know existed as an educational consultant and kind of went through until, guess what? Life happened. What happened in that life? Nothing major, just some little something, something. You want me to tell you what it was? I was driving down I-10, headed home, listening to Kirk Franklin, Hero. And I hear a voice that says, look to the left. And guess what it was? It was a car, hydroplaning, coming at me like a what? Missile. Well, that didn't turn out too well. I ended up with a C2 fracture. Do I look like it? Crushed hip, 10 screws, plates, and crushed ankles. That's why I have flat shoes. God. Anybody with tall, pretty heels in here? Good. I won't have to hit you. But do you know, even through that was a grief process? I laugh, y'all. I just now, that was February 1st, 2006. And just this year, I finally gave away my last pair of high heels. That's a grief process. But I had this woman who was my caretaker. Wanda was the loudest, sweetest, best cook you could ever have, and the best companion and friend. And as people kept coming by to see me, she said, all these people coming here and they're trying to cheer you up, and you're helping them. They're asking you questions. You're always doing that for them. And I said, oh, she said, you could get paid for that. I looked at her, I said, no, that's just a Christian thing to do. Anybody ever done that? Wrong. So I knew that I could no longer run through airports and do all of those things. So I said, well, maybe I should. Now, there's some of you that work in the faith community. Who are you? Let me see. Anybody? Okay. So you're counseling and you're in the faith community. How many of you do not work in the faith community? Okay. How many of you are still kind of struggling about how to put the two together? Anybody? Just be truthful, are you? Well, I'm sitting there in my bed. It took about a year for me to learn how to walk and do everything. And guess what? I found a college that said, Houston Graduate School of Theology, Masters of Counseling. Bam! It was a God moment. And I'd already been in a program, and there were two of us who are seminary dropouts. Said, I'm not going to be anybody's pastor, so I dropped out. But I was able to transfer those hours and get my master's. So you look at the spaghetti soup behind my name, it's not because I just wanted to do it. I was what called to it. My advisor told me, Stephanie, no, go on and get the additional certification because they need, he said, the body of Christ needs what? Marriage and family therapists. Little did I know there were like over 32,000 LPCs, but only 3,200 LMFTs. Little did I know that the test was supposedly hard to pass. You know why? Because I didn't think about those things. I looked at what? The purpose and the end. So when you talk about spirituality, that guides what? My life. More so than religion. Okay? And counseling and mental health is a what? It's just my playground. So, I promised you we're going to talk about 5 myths. Myth number 1. Myth number 1 is other people's problem. Mental health, mental health is cousin Bubba who stays in his room all the time, and when the family comes over, nobody ever goes back there because that's where Bubba lives, right? It's other people's problem because Miss Annie across the street, every now and then she runs out of the house with no clothes on. It's other people's problem. It's not me. It never touches me. But who would ever think that mental health is more than just what? Psychosis, homicidal tendencies. Mental health encompasses every part of our life. I can tell you. Now, even in a car accident, y'all, I'll be very honest with you. I never once suffered from depression. But when I saw my father shrink from a tall, strapping man to bones with prostate cancer over a period of 2 years, I went into depression. I said courageous conversation. I'm just going to tell you the truth. Did I cry? No. But you know what I did? I could not stand being around people who just didn't make sense. It took up too much time. When I went to church, I had it timed because I was going to go and peep in the window and walk in just when the preacher was preaching because I didn't have time for all that other stuff. I stayed up late at night. My mind wouldn't shut off. That was depression. And I was depressed so much, I had to go get a little help. But I didn't know I was going to get a little help. I just went and I said, I'm doing this, so-and-so. Doctor, I don't know what it is, how I feel. And he said, oh, you're depressed. And I went like, oh, yeah, I am. But there are too many people that won't accept the help. Clinicians. Jesus healed many, many ways. Part of it was through medication. What do you think spit in the dirt was? That's a salve. That's what? Medication. Men, depression. If y'all don't know this, I'm going to tell you, ladies, everybody else. Now, most people think depression is, oh, my God, I want to kill myself. Oh, I'm so sick and tired. I just told you what it looked like for me. But for men, they're irritable. They're mean. Remember Whoopi Goldberg in Kingdom Come? And she wanted to put mean and surly on her husband's tombstone. Okay? I'm just telling you. Y'all, mental health is deeper than what we think it is. Mental health could be, you may be working with somebody, you know, and you know this person, nobody ever wants to be around them because all they want to do is start problems and they're just so negative. Mental health is different. Oh, ooh, wow. I'm not going to talk about those that can't wait to go to happy hour every evening. Okay, we're going to move on that. But we're going to talk about something else. Others people problem. No, it's not OPP. There we go. It's not OPP. Okay, those in the recovery movement know this. If not for the grace of God, what? There go I. Okay? So it could be anybody else. I mean, it could be you. It could be anybody else in other circumstances, because you know what? This mental health thing is bigger than that. Okay, but just like in the recovery movement, for some things, we know it takes what? God's grace to get past it. Now, all of you know, I'm telling you, I deal with couples a lot and families. And I want everybody to just get along. But it doesn't happen all the time. Because if one person is resistant and they don't want to do the work, guess what's going to happen? It's not going to happen. When we talk about chemical dependency, I'll tell you a story about a couple that was referred to me from treatment. The husband was in treatment, but he was having problems with the what? With the wife. And you know the thing is, hey, once I've gone to treatment, I need to go in and fix them so I can do what? Stay well. Y'all laughing. Y'all understand that. Yeah. But then guess what happened? Through the course of therapy, he starts complaining about the wife. Well, you know, I'm working all the time, so and so and so, and she doesn't keep the house clean. Wow. So I'm talking to her over a course of time, and then I find out that this woman had a very sick mother that died when she was in high school. And it was her responsibility to do what? Take care of her 3 brothers. And then she marries this man that she knew the family but didn't really know him. That wasn't the problem. Y'all, what do y'all think her problem was? She was burned down on keeping the house. And you know what? She had a case of, let's go to DSM-5. It was complicated grief. She was grieving. She had never gotten over her mother's death. She had never gotten over the fact that she didn't get to the prom. She had never gotten over that her life was not the way it was what? Supposed to be. So then, in the course of talking, because you know, as therapists, as counselors, our number one job is to do what? I found out that she was the go-to person, and then she started talking about, well, you know, it wasn't always like this, that I used to keep a spotless house. Really? So what question do you think I asked her? What happened? When did this change? And you know what her answer was? When my mother died. When she heard those words come out of her mouth, she did the ugly cry. And I let her cry and cry and cry and cry. You understand what I'm saying? And cry and cry. Because remember, we talk about how we are and cry. And cry, because where do we carry the pain, the grief, the anxiety? Where is it? It's not in our what? Head. It's what? It's in our body. Yeah, it goes to our body. So that's the grace. The grace. Now, we're going to get this thing working sooner or later. Okay? And we went the wrong way. So we're going to do this. Okay? So it's all in your head. Yeah, part of it is in your head. How many of you have seen this? That is a CAT scan, an actual CAT scan that shows what? A depressed brain. And the yellow and the red shows the what? The activity in the brain. So do you see that brain functioning very well? And then we also heard earlier today that in addition to that, all of the negative thoughts, all of the feelings, all of the what? Emotion starts what? Rewiring the brain. And remember, everything from movement, activity is what? Directed from what? The brain, the center. Okay? And for some of us, we know it's in our stomach. How many of you feel your stress in your stomach? Okay? And that holds true as well. But you see, after, could be talk therapy, it could be medication. Look at the what? Recovered mind. Okay, the Bible says what? Be ye transformed what? By the what? Renewing of the mind. Okay, so your actual job description, you're a mind renewer. You help with what? Transformation. Okay, so really, so that myth, is it all in your head? Yes, and what? And no. Even if somebody makes up things all the time, that's still what? The sign of a what? A problem. Okay, my thing is this, don't ignore and ask the right questions. Oh, some people say it's what? It's the consequences of what? Poor choices. Nobody told her. Everybody told her, don't be with that man. We knew he was no good for her. So after he kept beating her over and over again, instead of you getting some help, sometimes the family members would say, see, she got what she deserved. Or it could be, you know, no one told them to go on and just do all that drinking and smoking the drugs and see, and now look what happened. They've lost the job. They've made all of those what? Poor choices. And then I love this. I love this if I push the right one. In the faith community, we hear what? Well, you know, they open that door to sin. Y'all laughing. Did you say that? No, but you've heard it, right? You've opened the door. Okay, I'm going to tell you it goes a little bit deeper than that. Once in a family program, and we're talking about families that would come because there's one member that was in recovery, and so you know you have to help give the family tools. And there was one woman that comes up, and she had to check us out. And she said, you know, I'm a counselor just like you all, and I'm coming here, and I just want to see if you could really, what, help my daughter out. We said, oh, Lord, it's one of those. So, of course, you know, some of us, we go, state of Texas, we said, she's not even in the system. I don't know what kind of counselor this is. But then we do what? We listen. And she talks about her sister who was the alcoholic. You see, I am the what? I'm the one that's made it. But her 19-year-old daughter is in rehab for alcohol freshman year. Was she there because of poor choices? No, I'm going to tell you a little bit deeper. The child went to her first party. What do? They usually, some drink, some don't. And she had a drink. Y'all, guess what? Anyone who knows addiction, all it takes is what? One event. And is on to the races. That child turned on the addiction. Thank God it had skipped mama, but guess who got it? Daughter. And when the daughter had problems, who do you think she called? Auntie. She didn't call mama. She did not call mama. So it's not poor choices or poor consequences. Sometimes it's just what? Poor what? Chemistry. It's chemistry. I've seen grandmothers who said, oh, hey, yeah, well, you my great-great-grandfather, we always had a little wine with our what? Dinner. Little wine? A lot of wine. But they're functioning. Okay, so we talk about impairment, but you know it's not just falling down drunk all the time. So did she open the door? No. But it was the mother's what? Superior attitude that did not prepare her daughter for what could have happened. Because if you don't know the facts, I'll tell you this. If one parent is an addict, there's a 40% chance that the child may become an addict. If both parents are addicts, and we're talking about all substance, it goes up to what? 80%. If one parent is a diabetic, it's a 40% chance that what? The child may become a diabetic. Or if both are, then it goes up to 80%. But we know that in mental health, we just don't deal with things what? One way. We have to teach them how to eat, how to relate to one another, how to talk. In my practice, do you know the number one problem I get is not sex. You know what it is? Communication. They don't even know how to talk to each other. I have to script them, help them script it. So then when we talk about that open door, you know what? That's a myth. Okay, we had some faith people in here. So I'm going to throw this scripture on you. Isaiah 53, when it talks about he was wounded, what? For our transgression, and he was what? Bruised for our what? Iniquity. Oh, do you know what iniquity is? Y'all said sin. That's what the church folks say. Iniquity is any weakness, any propensity for weakness. It could be, the iniquity could be what? Overeating. The iniquity could be what? Gambling. The iniquity could be what? Depression. The iniquity could be what? Schizophrenia. The iniquity could be what? Anything. You see what I'm saying? Y'all, we've got to go deep if we're going to hit them. Now, one of the things I'm going to tell y'all, yes, ma'am.
Tendency being toward.
Yes. Thank you. Okay. If you go to what? If you go to the, I know what you're talking about, is a tendency or a what? A bent toward or an inclination for. That's what iniquity is. It could be anything. For some people, it could be what? Running women. I have one client. The wife is all upset because he doesn't know how to have boundaries with women. He talks about personal things, like the old folks says. He talks up under their clothes. He tells too much. But then when you find out about it, guess what? His mama divorced his daddy for what? The same thing. But y'all, guess what? He's going to have to change because his thing is this. He says, well, I didn't sleep with her. Look, dude. I give him a visual. I said, this is your bed. This is your marriage bed. Everybody you flirted with is in that bed with you. You know, everybody that you've done. I said, do you see what you're doing to your marriage? You understand what I'm saying? So it's a little bit different than an open door. So that's why sometimes we may have to get a little deep because one stop will not always do what? Fit all.
When it say God visits the sins of the fathers, all the children for their rich.
Yes, he does. Did you hear what he said? God visits the sins of the father. I will tell you, when I get into a very deep person, I always do a genogram. And the genogram is not necessarily for me, it's for what? For them. Because there was a gentleman that came in with a young woman and he wanted what? Counseling. They were living together. Y'all, I'm telling you, I have a poker face. I have learned to be very humble. I have learned to always have grace in the back of my mind. And you know, grace is not, it's twofold, because it's not that we're just what? Unworthy, but it's also that what? Supernatural power that empowers us to do what needs to be necessary. So we did the genogram, and I'm telling you what, listen y'all, he found out. Because I'll give them the sheet, and they'll go through the sheet, and they'll have, I said, well, I don't know, so-and-so and so. Well, call your auntie, find out. And then we go through that, and then we even go through divorces. We even go through who's been in jail. We go through all of this. And so this young man had been in the service. He was military, so he was very rigid. This woman was a little bit younger, but what her thing was, guess what? She wasn't sure. She didn't know. She didn't have boundaries. Okay, so genogram, 2 things. So it's yours. So you're going to write it up, and then the other is going to read the paper. So, because I want to see how they communicate. And then they look, and I let them see what happened. But in his family, y'all, he had, 1, 2, 3, 4. It was about 4 alcoholics. He had a grandfather who was a minister, but he beat his wife. And his mother had mental issues. She had depression. She had really, it was so bad for her, she hit the streets. I said, did she do drugs? No, she didn't do drugs, but see, she's around all of this addiction. And so guess what my client did? He became so rigid because he wasn't going to be like everybody else. Then he looked and he said, oh my God. He said, so that's why this one had a stroke. This one had a heart attack. This one had this. This one had that. I didn't have to say anything. I said, so what is it going to take for you to keep yourself healthy so you won't go down this road? Then on the other side with her mother had divorced 3 times. She had bonded with the second stepfather, and the mother just up and divorced him, and now she's on number 3. So the belief system for her was, well, you know, marriage is not going to last. So those are the types of things that we have to do when I say go deep, because it's not one size that will fit all. So it's not poor choices. Oh, Lord, it's a spiritual defect. Yeah, open that door. Boy, it's a demon. Why are we going to... Now, look, y'all, I'm not making fun, because I'm telling y'all, I pray, and I do know that in Isaiah 11 it says, God made good and evil. But guess what? He rules over what? Them all. And I know that there are, well, okay. I'll just say it this way. All we have to do is turn on the TV and know we got a problem, right? Okay, so there are choices. But see, it's not necessarily what? A defect. But I tell you what, remember, we're in the what? Mind transforming business. I don't know if y'all have seen this. All you need to do is just Google prayer and CAT scan. And this was a few years back, and there was a minister. If you look at his what? His baseline scan, do you see how kind of flat it is? But then once he started praying, look what happened. There's more activity in the brain. Wow. And for some, it could be out loud prayer. Some is silent prayer. For some, it might be what? Meditation. Okay, I'm going to ask y'all this. How many of you have a morning ritual that you do consistently? Y'all give them a hand. How many of you do not have a morning ritual? Come on, y'all. Okay, y'all give them a hand. They're going to change. You know why? Every morning ritual is different. Every nighttime ritual is different. I will tell you that lately I've had a lot of women that come to me and their thing is I'm overwhelmed. So it used to be depression. Now it's a lot of what? Anxiety. because their mind is going. So I said, what do you do at nighttime? So at nighttime, it's very simple. I tell them, go get a journal. At the end of the day, just write your highs and lows. And then the last thing, write 3 things you're thankful for. I said, because you don't want to go to bed with that stuff, in your heart and your mind. I said, but then you have to put some sugar on it, like my mom said, and talk about those things, that you are thankful for. I'm going to tell you the one thing that is not good when I said morning ritual, it's not good for us as those that give care to just get up. And the first thing we do is start running. Because you know what? You can't take care of yourself. For some, it may be just as simple, if you like coffee, just to make a cup of coffee. For some of you, or like for me, do you know what I do for myself? I love lavender. So I get lavender soap. So I'm going like, so here I am. I'm taking care of me. Okay, for some, no, I'm not that one, but some, they sit and they read the Bible for a long time and then they journal. Okay? I don't do mine in the morning. I'm kind of like through the thing. But you need to decide, find out, and stick to it. You have to take care of yourself. But you look at prayer and meditation. I remember when they talked about meditation once before, you don't want to do that because when you empty out your mind, guess what? The devil comes in and he'll tell you okay. And the book of Mark, it says, and Jesus did what? He went away from them and he went up to what? A mountain. You know, when I was in seminary, we had to go and study different languages. So I went to a Buddhist temple. And I'm telling you, I was shocked. They said, well, Buddhism is not a religion, it's a philosophy. I went, really? And that was a monk, because remember, people hadn't told us that. And then he said, no, it's a philosophy. It's a way of what? Thinking and and silencing your mind. And see, now all we hear is what? Mindfulness. And then I really get blown away because they said, we have a lot of Baptist preachers that come here and they learn how to what? Meditate. You think they wouldn't told their congregation? It's working for them. So they're going to have this one-way communication. I'm going to tell you what to do, and you're going to have everything just right. And then they go home, and they're so overwhelmed, and then it's not working for them, and then they go learn how to do what? Meditate. Okay, I ain't saying nothing else. Y'all understand what I'm saying?
The Bible teaches meditation.
Yes, it does. If Jesus were living today, y'all, where do you think he'd be? Where do you think he would be? He probably wouldn't be hanging out in the church. Look. He'd be on the street. He'd probably exercise. He'd probably be what? Meditating. You see what I'm saying? He would. Oh Lord, I know he'd be downtown Houston. He really would. Just saying. Learn how to take care of yourself. Didn't you say it? You said it best. We have to learn to what? Take care of our issues and take care of ourselves. Our body is what? A temple of God. Oh, I'll tell you something else. Okay. Oh, I can handle this alone. Or we just do what? Keep it in house. Nobody needs to know what's going on. What did you say? Take it to the grave. You know, shame is a bugaboo. Shame and secrets will do what? Kill you. Because the honest truth is, if you could really handle it alone, you wouldn't really have the problem you're having, right? You know, even in the church is a hospital for sick. Okay, so, I know cancer and, let's see, high blood pressure, all of this, that's a sickness. But what about mental illness? What about the health? What about the hospital for what? For those types. We have to do what? We have to what? Get together. There are things that I don't know. So what I do is I go out and I do what? Get with someone else. And I'm not just saying that I want to give you a couple of words. If it's something that I really can't handle, guess what? I'm going to pass it off to. I'm going to give it to David. See, that's his specialty. Okay? But I'll handle it in such a way. Can you be true? How many of you were affected by the storm? Anybody? Okay. Mhm. How many of you are still struggling with it? Huh? Anybody? You still struggling with it?
I was affected, not my home and not my car,
Mhm.
but my business was affected.
Mm.
But more than that, I was affected emotionally
Yeah.
because I worked with Katrina and was so connected with that it just brought back a lot of that.
Okay, can you come here? Wow. Are you from New Orleans?
No, I'm from Louisiana and I lived in California, but I commuted to New Orleans every month working on Katrina.
Wow. Okay, so when Harvey with his ugly self came, what happened? Tell me. Look,
God
okay.
gave me grace.
Okay.
I had a 10-day vacation planned.
Mm-hmm.
5 months ago, I bought my airplane ticket to leave Houston that morning at 9:45.
Mm-hmm.
So I was praying that my flight made it.
Mm-hmm.
I flew out of here, and I was gone for 10 days, watching it over the news.
How was that for you?
God also gave me grace. I had my neighbors, I didn't know them well, but 3 months before that, I started a ministry for women, and 3 of the women in my neighborhood are part of that, and they kept me informed the whole time that I was away. Otherwise, I'd be wondering what was happening with my home. They even sent me pictures, and the water rose midway our yards, but it would go back down. So we didn't lose any power, and we didn't get water in the house.
Okay,
But
so
watching the picture, the images.
how did you feel?
reminded
Tell me, what are some of the feelings you felt?
I'm not sure I can really put words to it.
Oh, come on. Oh, yeah, you are. What are some of the, look, okay. What are some of the feelings you felt, dear?
I was just devastated by it because seeing the people walking in the water and fighting for their lives, and it was just really overwhelming.
Okay, overwhelming. So you felt devastated, and what else?
Hurt.
Okay.
Concerned.
Okay, what else?
Relieved that I was not in the midst of it,
Wow.
going through the direct trauma myself.
And what else?
So that's it.
Okay, did you hear all that? You see how we do? We'll say, okay, we'll put a word on it, but we don't go deep. Okay, so when you came home and you saw your home, how did you feel?
When I came home, my cousin who lives 5 minutes from me, her neighborhood was devastated. So I asked my sister to drive me through her neighborhood. And it was just, everything was on the curb. It was just like a war zone. And then I drove to my neighborhood and everything was like normal. So there was almost a sense of guilt. You know?
Did y'all say that loud? What? Guilt.
Yeah.
Okay.
There was a sense of guilt that, I didn't lose anything, but my neighbors, people surrounding me did,
But I would posit that you did lose something. You lost your sense of peace.
Yeah, during that time I did. It was, even though I was, around the East Coast traveling and whatever, but, trying to watch it on the news as much as possible.
How did you sleep during this time?
I slept fine.
She slept fine. Woo woo. Okay, what about eating?
I ate fine too.
The same? More? Less?
No, about the same.
Okay.
I love to eat.
Anything else change?
Anything else changed?
During this whole time?
No. The other thing that I experienced is when I got back, in the first major rain we had, it was like...
What happened? Say what?
It was like fear,
And how was fear for you?
It was just like connecting back to Harvey, the experience, even though I wasn't here. But just that first major rain was like...
Where did you feel it? Where did you feel it? Close your eyes. Where did you feel it? It's the rain coming down. You hear the noise.
In my head, in my mind.
Ooh, what was your head doing? Your head what? Kind of hurt?
No pain. Just
what was it?
Just uncomfortable or just fear.
Close your eyes. How else did you feel? Think about your body. What else did you feel?
Maybe tightness in my shoulders, maybe, and just just anxiety.
Yeah.
Anxious.
How long did it last?
Well, I was out driving, so I was like anxious to get home.
Whoa, she was out driving. Yeah.
I was like anxious to get home and get through the water.
So it rained last night. How was it for you? Did you have rain where you were?
It rained just as I was getting home. Yeah, it was the same. I felt.
You felt the same?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now that you know you still have a little bit of anxiety from Katrina and everything else. Okay, clinicians, we're gonna help her. What should she do? What are some suggestions you have for her? Wow.
What was it?
Say what? Relaxation. Go to the feeling. Did you hear what you hear? Honestly, you have to go through the feeling. I used to say just sit in it. You have to go through the feeling. Yeah. And I'm going to tell you, I understand that because remember I had a head-on collision? And the first thing I did was, as soon as I could get behind the wheel of a car, guess what I did? I got behind the wheel of the car. However, okay, that was the physical, right? But then there was a car once, I heard it screeching, and then I went there.
Yes.
So it was still there. So then I had to go with what I knew. I felt it. I talked about it. I had scripture because that works for me. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. And I prayed. Because it doesn't go away. You have two things. It's compound. You've got to get it out. You've got to sit through how do you feel and what do you do. Because I suspect that you're the type of person, let me say, tell me if I'm wrong. You're very driven. You're the type that gets things done all the time. And then, I don't know, maybe a recovering perfectionist. And you always help other people. Well, yeah, because a lot of them can't help you the way you can help them. Wow. And so the thing is, so if I'm going to talk to somebody, well, that's all right. God, I know you got me. And then you'll pray, and you hold it what? In. Got to get it out.
Sideways. Until it comes out sideways.
It's going to come out. Okay, that fear, that anxiety. Because I bet you were ticked off. You were really upset. Now, why is this? Why is this happening? You're looking at the people that you're helping and nobody else. You've got to voice that. That's not sin. Y'all, what did Jesus say when he was in the garden? He said, and you know what, let this cup pass for me. Look, I know you sent me down here to do this, but do I really have to go through this? And then they said he was distressed of heart. They didn't say he was stressed. He was what? Distressed. To the point of death. So how is it to be so distressed? See, we see those cute little pictures, Jesus like this. And he was distressed of heart. He said, oh, Lord, take me away. I don't want to go through all this. And then we hear that scripture when he went up there to his friends that was supposed to help him. If y'all niggas don't wake up, y'all supposed to be here. You can't even do this. Have you given yourself permission just to even say what you really feel?
Never really thought much about it.
Yeah.
Bam! Did you hear what she said? She never really thought much about it. Yeah, you stuffed it. Okay. So who's close to you? Who's a good friend? Somebody you can share your heart with?
Oh, I have a couple friends.
Okay, have you really told them what's going on?
No, I haven't really talked about it.
Okay. So you know what you need to do, right? Give me a hug.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so y'all need to think about this, okay? Those are some myths. So, when I say a bonus, I said, okay, I'm going to give y'all a bonus, okay? And that was the bonus. That, you know what? I could sit up here and I can plan to do all of this. You know, I could sit and I could talk about what I need to do. But then guess what? The circumstance calls for what? Change. And if any of us are so rigid that we have to use one particular thing, do it one particular way, all of those other things, it's not going to work. I had a young man that came to me because I get a lot of 20 and 30 something. And you know what he told me? He said, I like you because you are real. You just don't talk like you're doing book work on me. You listen to me and you understand. So if a person is to the point where you know that spirituality is what? Important to them, y'all, when we write a treatment plan, you could put that in there if it means that much what? To them. Don't run away from it because guess what? You're doing yourself what? A disservice. So we need to bust the myths and let it know that what? There are no rules. But the thing is, you learn your book, but guess what? How many of you, is there anybody in here who doesn't listen to their inner voice? I thought so. So all of y'all have an opportunity, right? Okay? So the thing is, guess what? You need to what? Take heed to that. Okay? You need to take heed to that. So I'm going to close with saying, you know what? Each and every one of you are equipped to be where it is that you are what? Called. But I'm going to challenge you to do what? Stretch and go beyond. Because if some of you are feeling tension, it might be that you're not really where you're supposed to be. Sometimes it's time to do what? Move on and change. If you're in a situation where you have what? A supervisor or somebody that has you what? Bound, it could be that what? It's time to do what? Move on. For some of you, it might be that it's time for y'all to start your what? Your own business. Y'all, I never intended to have my own private practice. This is the last thing I'm going to tell you, and I'm going to share with you. Well, when I was doing my internship, you know, because of my impairment, you know, I knew I couldn't do 40, 50-hour weeks. Okay, it would wipe me out. But one of the things that I love to do, I love to speak, teach, train, and then even through all of the hardship, because, oops, I had breast cancer. That's another talk, okay? Very aggressive form of breast cancer. But through all of it, my spirit was fed by me doing what? Helping other people. So I get a phone call and they say, well, you know, we want you to come and be on a panel. We want to talk about relationships. And it was a woman's group. Well, you know, God plays tricks on me. Woman's group, I could talk to women all day long, right? I get there, it's men and women and Christian and Muslim. And the other woman that was supposed to be on the panel didn't make it in from Austin. So I'm a woman here, Baptist preacher right here with his iPad, another Baptist preacher right here, and then here's a Muslim minister and a Muslim minister. I said, Lord, just like Moses, I'm going to open up my mouth and you tell me what it is I need to say. Okay, it changed my mind. I learned some things. You know, there was a Q&A. Oh, I forgot. Panel discussion, 45 minutes to maybe an hour. And wrong answer, 3 hours. With a break. We had a break. So one question was this. Well, my son is marrying a Christian woman, and I want to know what should I tell him? Y'all, this was a teachable moment for me. The Baptist preacher says, well, you know, the Bible says that we're not supposed to be unequally yoked, and da-da-da-da-da. I went through this. And I said, I'm listening. I'm learning. So the Muslim minister said this. He said, well, you know what? This is what you need to tell her. Tell her that she needs to respect the dietary laws. Now, that's a deal breaker. Said, and then what you could do, they could go to the Baptist church for 2 weeks and learn about Jesus, and then they could go 2 weeks to the mosque and learn about Jesus. What? Say what? So then a few weeks later, I get a phone call. Hi, you may not remember me. I was there, blah, blah, blah. I said, oh, okay. Yes, and my husband really respects you, and he wants you to counsel us. We have a blended family. Muslim calling me? Well, I had just finished, and I'm going like, well, I'm not up. I can't. So I called my advisor. As a marriage and family therapy associate, you can start your practice right away with supervision. And I heard if you build it, they will come. So my first clients were a Muslim family. They were deeply spiritual people. I didn't really understand the Quran, so I asked for permission. You asked for permission, right? And there's certain things, like there's one handout I had, and it had like scripture on it, and I said, well, I don't want to offend you. Oh, no, we read the Bible. You tell me. Wow. Listen. Care. Dare to be different. If you don't know the answer to a question, do what? Ask. Because most of the myths that we have, y'all, guess what? They're just in our head. It's just what someone else has told us. So my challenge to you going forward is try to find joy in what you're doing every day, but then get past the fear, because I believe a lot of you are here because it's almost time to make a shift of some sort. Okay? And so that's all I have to say. Now, what I have is I've set up, like on my website, you guys, if you just go and you put your email in, I have a lot of resources that I'm going to share with you. I didn't have an opportunity to put it up because, to be honest, my body was just tired. Okay? But if you do that, I'll give it to you. And I tell you, there is no problem with integrating faith with mental health. There is a problem with you trying to push your opinions on someone else. There is a problem when you tell people what? They're wrong. Because one of the things in the DSM-5, they called it disorders, and they started looking at things like what? Over the lifespan. So some people have certain practices that helps them. Now, you can help them shift to something that's real helpful, but you don't pull the rug out from up under them. You understand what I'm saying? So the only myth that we have is that what? What's a real myth? I'll give you one, and that's it. One size fits all. Not so. Okay? All right, y'all.